Level 1. The Candidate. You step off the bus at Fort Benning in late August. Pack weighing 65 pounds. Air thick enough to chew. No welcome. Just a drill sergeant barking coordinates and a field you'll crawl across until your elbows bleed. 70% won't finish. They tell you that like it's trivia. First week isn't about rifles. It's about vanishing. You stitch burlap onto a base suit, weave in pine needles and dried grass until you're less person, more shadow. You move 3 inches per minute across open pasture while instructors scan with 20 times optics. Get spotted? Back to start. Rain soaks your gear. Heat blisters your neck. One guy quits after passing out during a night stalk. Another disappears, bunk stripped before dawn. You stay. Not because you're gifted, because quitting never crosses your mind. You learn stillness isn't passive. It's aggression in slow motion. By week's end, you've memorized the sound of your own heartbeat under stress. Shooting comes later. For now, you master becoming nothing. And that's how it begins. Level 2. The Observer. You're assigned to 3rd Platoon, 75th Ranger Regiment. No fanfare, just a handshake and a map grid. Your shooter is Sergeant Vargas, 10 years in, eyes that track birds at 400 meters without optics. You carry the spotting scope, the data book, the weight of every variable he can't afford to calculate mid-breath. First deployment, Eastern Syria, near Al-Bukamal. Dust gets in everything. You learn to read mirage like scripture, heat waves bending truth across the wadi. Your first call? Wind's 8 miles per hour, full value, but it's gusting off that ridge. Hold left, half mile. Vargas exhales. Shot cracks. Target drops before the echo fades. No adrenaline rush, just confirmation. You log it clean. Over months, you memorize how Vargas tilts his head when he's doubting your wind call, how he taps the bipod twice when he wants silence. You spot not just targets, but intent. A man adjusting his belt too slow. A vehicle idling just off pattern. One afternoon, you ID a triggerman by the way he avoids eye contact with locals. Shot taken, threat neutralized. You feel nothing but focus. That's the job, and you're good at it. Level 3. The Shooter. Vargas rotates out after a knee injury in Mosul. Command slots you as primary shooter. No ceremony, just new initials in the ops order. Your spotter is Corporal Reyes, 22 years old, sharp but green. First solo shot, 580 meters outside Tal Afar. Targets pacing near a fuel cache. Wind steady, sun low. You dial, breathe, break. 1 shot, 1 kill. Anticlimactic. The real test comes weeks later, a hostage compound in northern Iraq. Intel says 2 captives, Canadian engineers, held by a splinter cell. You're set up at 1,350 meters on a shale ridge. Thermals swirl like ghosts. Reyes calls wind shifts every 90 seconds, voice tight. You watch through glass for 6 hours. Then, a guard steps into the courtyard, pauses to light a cigarette. Same spot, same time, 3 days running. Sunset glare hides your muzzle flash. You blend math and instinct. 3.2 MILs up, 1.8 left. Squeeze. Impact center mass. Assault team breaches. Hostages extracted alive. Later, no celebration, just a nod from Reyes. But you feel it, the shift. You're not just pulling trigger, you're deciding fates, and you're ready. Level 4. The Instructor. You return to Fort Moore, not as a student, but in Desert Tan Instructors tab. 8 years since you crawled through that same red clay. Now you stand on the berm, stopwatch in hand, watching candidates low crawl through dew-soaked fields at 0400. You don't yell, you observe. You know who'll quit by how they adjust their ghillie after the first failure. You teach wind not as numbers, but as language. The whisper off a wheat field, the sigh through dry creek beds. One candidate keeps missing right. You crouch beside him and say, "Your trigger finger's dragging, not your aim, your ego." He fixes it, graduates top of class. You rewrite portions of the stalking manual after realizing terrain memory matters more than pace count. Your critiques are surgical. Your breathing isn't synced with your heartbeat. You're fighting yourself. No fluff, no mercy, but fair. Graduates from your cycles have a 92% mission-capable rating in first deployment. Yet nights feel hollow. You miss the tension before a shot, the clarity of one objective. Training saves lives, but it doesn't echo like a round downrange. Still, when a former student messages from Kandahar saying, "Used your Mirage trick today, worked perfect," you know you're still in the fight, just from farther back. Level 5, the team lead. You're promoted to staff sergeant and given a 6-man element, 3 shooters, 2 spotters, 1 drone operator, all under 26. They call you Sarge to your face, old iron in the mess hall. You don't correct them. Your first op as lead, high-altitude desert near the Iran border, targets a bomb maker with ties to 3 IED attacks. Shot distance, 1,720 meters. Wind shear off canyon walls makes ballistics chaotic. Your youngest spotter freezes on the call. You take the scope, read the dust devils, and say, "Hold 4.1 up, 2.3 right. Shoot on my mark." Round impacts, target down. But the shot that haunts you happens 3 months later in a village outside Erbil. Intel said armed militant on rooftop. You took him at 620 meters. Clean hit. Then the body rolls, and it's a local farmer holding a rusted pipe. Bad intel, perfect shot. The investigation clears you. Your team says nothing. But you see his face every time you close your eyes. You start double-checking sources, demanding secondary confirmation, even if it costs the window. Leadership notices. Some call it hesitation. You call it conscience. You realize leading isn't about the longest shot. It's about ensuring every shot should be taken. And that burden doesn't show on any fitness report. Level 6, the Master. They don't give you a certificate or a ceremony. The title arrives quietly, whispered in planning rooms, written in after-action margins. Consult the Master. You're 41 now, 20 years in. Your knees ache before rain. Your hands don't shake, but they remember every round fired. You rotate between field deployments and testing labs at Aberdeen Proving Ground. Engineers hand you prototypes, smart scopes that autocorrect for humidity, rifles with embedded sensors. You test them for a week, then write reports that say, "Remove the automation, trust the shooter." Because you know what they don't. Machines can't judge hesitation, can't read a child's posture near a threat, can't carry the weight after. Your final deployment is to a coastal region in the Philippines, counter-terror ops against a cell moving weapons by boat. The shots are routine, the goodbyes aren't. You memorize your team's faces, the way the sun hits the water on your last overwatch. The final trigger pull, 800 meters, moving target, textbook execution. You don't know it's the last until the chopper lifts off. No fanfare, just silence where purpose used to live. You pack the rifle, store it. Try to store the rest too. But some things don't fit in closets. Level 7, the Mentor. You retire to a quiet town in Montana. No parades, no speeches, just a flag folded tight and a mind that never really powers down. 6 months in, a package arrives, no return address. Inside, a handwritten note from a corporal you trained a decade ago. "Need advice. Can I call?" You do. Then another message comes. Then another. You become a ghost advisor. No rank, no authority, just earned trust. You meet young shooters at diners off post. Listen to their doubts between sips of black coffee. One asks how to handle the faces. You tell him, "You don't erase them. You make them matter by being better tomorrow." Another struggles with command politics. You say, Lead the shooters. Let the paperwork fall where it lands. You review their training logs, spot patterns they miss. Sometimes you drive 8 hours to sit beside someone who's braking under weight no one else sees. You don't fix them. You remind them why they started. The military moved on without you, but the ones who matter, they still find you. And in the quiet hours before dawn, when the world is still and the past feels close, you realize this was the final rank all along. Not shooter, not leader, keeper of the flame. And that duty never really ends.